Imagine you are just hours away from a long-awaited vacation.
Oh, the best feeling.
Right, like your bags are packed, your inbox is sitting at a glory zero, and you've been eating clean, working out all week, just to really earn this break.
You're basically vibrating with Zen energy by that point.
Exactly. You are ready. And then your phone lights up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's your boss. And in an instant, you aren't, a human being about to go to the desert with your family. You are an employee caught in a corporate restructuring.
Talk about a mood killer.
Completely. But welcome to the deep dive. Grab a comfortable seat, maybe step out onto the porch if you can, and just settle in.
Yeah, we've got a really good one today.
We really do. Today we're looking at a deeply personal, beautifully written essay about an annual siblings trip to Sedona, Arizona. It's the author, their wife, and their brother-in-law.
And we should say right up front, we aren't doing a travel guide today.
No, not at all. The mission here is, well, it's to trace how a trip that begins in total logistical chaos ultimately triggers this profound shift in consciousness.
It forces the author to completely redefine what the word wealth actually means.
Yeah, it's such a good life moment. And the contrast established in those opening moments, the phone call, it's brilliant because it captures the modern trap perfectly.
It really does. Because, okay, the author answers that phone call and learns a colleague was let go. The team is restructuring, and technically their reporting line is shifting downward.
Which is, a demotion on paper.
Right. But they're also getting a raise. More money for less work.
Which is wild.
On a spreadsheet, that is a massive victory.
Uh-huh.
Yet the author notes this immediate, visceral tug of war inside themselves, right? They see younger colleagues getting promoted, and this intense desire to pull out the scoreboard just kind of takes over.
I mean, the ego is basically a motion sensor light.
That's a great way to put it.
The second it detects even a perceived threat to its status, it just floods the room with anxiety. It completely blinds you to the fact that you literally just got a raise.
Right, you're making more money.
Exactly. But the author catches themselves in that moment and realizes something crucial. The ego always wants to keep score, but the spirit doesn't. They look around, realize they're making good money, they have love in their life, and are about to fly to the desert with people they genuinely care about. They actively choose to view that reality as winning.
And that internal pivot is the true departure point for the entire journey. Before a single suitcase is zipped, the baseline is set.
Yeah, the contract is so sharp.
It is. On one side, you have the artificial hierarchy of the corporate world. The titles, the stress, the pressure to measure your worth by who you report to. And on the other side, you have scale, freedom, perspective.
By recognizing the absurdity of the ego's demands, the author sort of unplugs from the corporate matrix just enough to let the upcoming experience actually penetrate their armor.
But of course, the universe apparently heard that internal realization and decided to immediately stress test it.
Oh, immediately. So the author is wrapping up a final client call, and their phone buzzes again. The 6 p.m. flight out of Chicago to Phoenix, canceled.
Of course it is.
Thunderstorms. They get rebooked for 11 p.m. That is a 5-hour delay before they even leave for the airport.
And for most people, this is the crucible where the vacation mood just goes to die.
Oh, 100%. You see it constantly, right? People furious at gate agents, fighting reality, frantically refreshing apps as if anxiety will magically clear the weather.
But this is where the alchemy of this specific trio really begins to shine. The author, the wife, and the brother-in-law. They don't fight the script.
No, they don't. The brother-in-law comes over, and instead of spiraling into frustration, they step out onto the balcony, they smoke a few joints, and they intentionally let the urgency just drain out of the evening.
They go get a nice Italian dinner, eat proper food, and just laugh.
It's the ultimate test of group chemistry. When the plot twist happens, you can either sit in the theater complaining that the movie changed, or you can lean back and enjoy the new scene.
They chose the new scene,
Oh.
which is so rare.
It is. But the universe wasn't done with them. They finally head to O'Hare, breeze through security in the suspiciously calm terminal, and bam, delayed again.
Just brutal.
Now they're looking at a 1 a.m. departure. They've crossed over from an inconvenient evening into a full-blown gritty red-eye.
And the author describes that late-night flight and the arrival in wonderfully human terms.
Wonderfully messy terms.
Yeah, exactly. They land in Phoenix at 3:30 in the morning. The author is completely exhausted. Their stomach is tied in these nervous, gassy knots.
Which, I mean, we've all been there.
Oh, absolutely. And they make an immediate beeline for the airport bathroom to, in their words, absolutely demolish it. a 3:30 a.m. spiritual release.
I love that they included that detail so much. We romanticize travel constantly,
Oh,
filtering it through these ethereal, picture-perfect moments.
Instagram doesn't show the airport bathrooms.
Right. Sometimes travel is just your digestive system loudly rebelling in a fluorescent-lit terminal while you wait for a rental Honda Civic.
It strips away whatever corporate polish you had left. You are reduced to a very basic, vulnerable biological state.
And from there, from that state, they have to drive 2 hours north into the dark Arizona desert.
But that drive actually serves a vital psychological function. The author calls it a strange in-between space, where nobody is fully awake and the world feels half real.
Which is such a mood.
It's a liminal space, literally the threshold between what was and what is next. When you're driving down a dark highway at 4 a.m., disconnected from your normal routines, your regular environment, and even your normal sleep cycle, your brain lowers its defenses.
You become highly susceptible to sudden shifts in perspective.
Exactly.
Which perfectly sets the stage for a cinematic payoff. Because they were delayed for 7 hours, they timed their arrival in Sedona perfectly with the sunrise.
You couldn't plan it better if you tried.
No. The author mentions having been there years prior, noting how places like this kind of fade from your memory until you're standing in front of them again. As they pull in, the sun hits the red rocks, and they look like they're glowing with their own internal pulse.
And the author watches their brother-in-law take it in for the very first time. The reaction isn't just, oh, this is pretty. It's pure, wide-eyed, childlike awe.
Yeah.
And the author notes that witnessing that honest wonder made the delays, the airport bathroom, the exhaustion, just every piece of friction entirely worth it.
Let's pause on the biology of that for a second, though, because if I take a red-eye flight, destroy an airport bathroom, and drive 2 hours in pitch black, my soul is generally dead for at least 2 business days.
Fair point.
I am not feeling wonder. I am feeling a deep need for ibuprofen and a bed. What is actually happening in the brain here that allows a landscape to just override biological exhaustion?
So awe actually functions as a neurological circuit breaker. Yeah. When humans are confronted with something vastly larger than themselves, especially natural phenomena with geologic scale, it forces the brain out of the default mode network. That's the network where we process anxiety, ego, and physical discomfort.
Oh, wow.
Wonder demands your absolute presence. It's a highly energizing emotion that essentially hijacks your nervous system, replacing fatigue with a surge of profound attention.
So the landscape doesn't just change the view.
No, it changes the actual pace of your thoughts.
That makes so much sense. Wonder as an energy source. And they ride that energy straight to their Airbnb at 6:30 a.m., which is affectionately called the Pie House.
I love the Pie House.
It's incredible. It's covered in pie-themed decor. There are literal miniature pies waiting for them, and they just crash until 11:30 in the morning.
That quirky, comfortable little cocoon feels like the perfect psychological anchor, too. It's the absurd, warm opposite of the austere, high-stakes corporate world the author left behind just the day before.
It really grounds them, so when they wake up, they are eager to dive into the town. They grab breakfast at a spot called Rascal. The author gets a scrambler with eggs, hash browns, bacon. It's a deeply nostalgic meal for them from a previous trip 4 years earlier.
Right, and they note they're in a different chapter of life now. Maybe a little older, a little softer, but just as hungry for the experience.
And immediately after that hearty, very normal breakfast, they wander across the street and step into the delightfully bizarre.
Yeah, the coffee shop.
Yes. They find this local apothecary coffee shop that feels like someone opened an herbal spell book and decided to serve lattes out of it.
It perfectly captures Sedona's unique, slightly off-center personality.
It's brilliant. The shop runs on donations rather than set prices. They
Okay.
proudly advertise using non-FDA approved ingredients.
Natural.
There are crystals everywhere, fortune tellers sitting inside. It is peak spiritual side quest energy. And the crowning detail. After navigating all that mystical flair, the shop still completely messes up the coffee order.
See, in the corporate world they just left, a wrong order or a broken process is a crisis to be managed.
Someone gets an angry email.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here the author embraces it as a feature, not a bug. They just let the town be exactly what it is. This floaty intersection of red rock majesty, alternative medicine, and human imperfection.
And they carry that easy energy back to the Pie House. We get these wonderful flashes of mundane human joy, too. The author and the brother-in-law get locked into this intensely sweaty, fiercely competitive ping-pong match over absolutely nothing.
Sibling dynamics never die.
Never.
Mm.
Later that night, they play Uno and Scrabble, and the author makes sure to note, quote, for the historical record, that they won both games.
The ego might have surrendered its need for corporate promotions, but it apparently still demands victory in Scrabble.
Obviously.
It's a great reminder that spiritual growth doesn't mean you stop being a regular competitive sibling.
It really keeps the story from feeling preachy. But between the ping pong and the board games, they go out for their first big hike, the Airport Mesa Trail at sunset.
A classic spot.
Initially, the trail is crowded. Everyone is trying to manufacture the same transcendent moment, which can feel a bit suffocating. But they keep walking, they create some distance from the crowds, and the landscape just opens up into this glowing watercolor of red, orange, and blue.
And standing at that overlook triggers the central realization of the entire deep dive. The author looks out over this ancient, sweeping valley and describes feeling tiny in a good way.
Tiny in a good way. I love that phrasing.
Not small as in insignificant, but small as in being a brief, connected part of something massive.
If you are listening to this right now, maybe checking a Teams message or stressing over an email thread, think about the scale of what the author is looking at. Millions of years of geologic time stacked up in front of them. It suddenly makes the artificial urgency of our daily lives look ridiculous.
The author has this quiet epiphany on the trail. I mean, we started this journey with a restructuring, a raise, and the ego wanting a better title. But standing on the airport mesa, the definition of wealth fundamentally shifts.
Yeah, it totally shifts.
Wealth isn't status. It isn't a reporting line. Wealth is waking up without an alarm. It's not being reachable. It's eating good food with people you love, moving your body, being outside long enough to remember who you actually are.
Being outside long enough to remember who you actually are. That is the line that really stuck with me. We spend so much of our lives indoors, bathed in the blue light of screens, letting our job titles dictate our identities. A single sunset on a dusty trail just wipes the slate clean.
It really does.
They hike back down, stop at a grocery store for wine and Gatorade, and settle in for that cozy night of competitive Uno and local Mexican food. The author says the enchiladas tasted like they had been lounging in the desert sun all day.
It's a profound level of contentment, but the environment wasn't quite finished with them yet.
Not at all. Around 10 p.m., they step outside the Airbnb and just look up. And the author describes the night sky as looking like spilled glitter on black velvet.
What an image.
The three of them stand in the middle of the street, necks craned back, completely silent. The author says they felt like a little boy again. Not childish, but pure, meeting the universe with open eyes.
That image of childlike awe is the emotional peak of the first day, and it sets a beautifully unguarded tone for day two. They wake up refreshed, and we learn about their little travel traditions. The author collects local golf hats, and the brother-in-law collects mugs.
A perfect division of souvenir labor.
Truly.
They fuel up at a place called Wildflower with breakfast burritos and matcha lattes. And the author makes a brilliant observation here about the nature of morning conversations. They note that breakfast talks have a lighter truth to them. Drinks at midnight are great for unburdening yourself, but in the morning, the day hasn't had time to harden around you yet.
The morning armor hasn't formed. At night, we're unwinding the tension we accumulated all day long. But over morning coffee, we are fresh. Vulnerability is easier, less dramatic, and much more forward-looking.
Yeah, and carrying that unguarded, open energy, they walk directly from their pie-themed cocoon straight to the Teacup Trail.
Right, no driving, no parking stress.
Just stepping out the door and into a hot, bright blue Arizona day. And as they walk, the conversation naturally drifts into the heavy, complex stuff. Life, death, aging parents, relationships, the sheer undeniable weirdness of being a human being.
There's a psychological reason for that drift, too. The physical act of walking side by side removes the confrontation of direct eye contact.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's much easier to navigate deep, vulnerable topics when you're moving forward together through a landscape rather than sitting rigidly across a table from one another.
And the trail itself mirrors that emotional climb. It gets vertical, it gets nervous-making. The wife and brother-in-law feel the edge of that discomfort, but they push through it together. And the reward at the summit isn't some grand cinematic speech about the meaning of life.
No, not at all.
They reach the top, sit down, and just exist in complete silence.
Which is huge. In our day-to-day lives, silence is treated as a void that must be filled. We fill it with podcasts, with music, with nervous chatter, with scrolling.
We are terrified of quiet.
Exactly. But sitting in shared silence at the top of a mountain is an act of profound intimacy. It means you feel entirely safe just breathing next to someone, without needing to entertain them or manage their perception of you.
It's the ultimate arrival. They are finally exactly where they're supposed to be, doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, which is nothing.
Mm.
They hike back down, glowing with this quiet gratitude. They do a little side quest into downtown Sedona, buy their respective hat and mug, grab some brightly colored bubble tea, and head back for round 2 of Scrabble.
I love the rhythm of this trip. You have these sweeping moments of deep spiritual reflection followed immediately by bubble tea and board games.
Right.
Massive realizations about the nature of geologic time, followed by a debate over a ping pong score. The profound and the mundane are perfectly balanced.
For their final dinner, they return to Rascal. The author orders a Wagyu burger and a margarita, and the meal is so satisfying they briefly entertain that classic vacation fantasy, What if we just stay?
We've all been there.
What if I become a guy who talks about energy vortexes and burgers with equal intense seriousness?
The siren song of the apothecary life. We have all felt that pull when a place gives us exactly what we didn't know we needed.
Totally. They end their final night standing out in the street under that spilled glitter sky one last time, because once is never enough. They watch some comedy, laugh, and fall asleep. Which brings us to the departure, the transition back to the real world.
But notice how the texture of the departure contrasts with the arrival.
It's night and day, literally. I drove in under the cover of pitch black darkness, exhausted and fighting their own biology. But driving out, it's daylight.
Yeah, the desert opens up for them in these soft rolling waves of brown and red.
The light is clean and sharp. The author takes a hit from their vape pen, settles into the passenger seat, and just lets the landscape say a gentle goodbye.
And the flight home out of Phoenix is completely smooth. No thunderstorms, no cancellations, no 3:30 a.m. bathroom emergencies.
A miracle.
It's as if the universe threw every piece of friction at them on the way in to test their resolve. Because they didn't fight the script, because they smoked a joint on a balcony and ordered Italian food instead of screaming at a gate agent, they were granted a peaceful exit.
They grab some sandwiches, the author takes some edibles for the flight, and they float seamlessly back to Chicago. They part ways with the brother-in-law, closing the book on a trip that gave them exactly what they needed.
When you look at the arc of this entire journey, the author has really provided a blueprint for moving through the world. It's a reminder that the texture of a good life isn't found in a flawlessly executed itinerary or a meticulously managed Outlook calendar.
No, not at all.
The real magic lives in the delayed flights, the wrong coffee orders, the pie-themed living rooms, and the willingness to let go of the ego's scoreboard.
Because who really cares who got promoted faster? Who cares if the timeline shifted by 5 hours? When you stop clinging to the illusion of control, you make room for the things that actually matter. Long breakfasts, unguarded conversations on dusty trails, perfect burgers, and standing under a sky so vast it makes you feel tiny in the best possible way.
That is the redefined wealth they discovered, a wealth of presence, a wealth of connection. It's the radical choice to refuse to let the things you cannot control blind you to the beauty of the things you can.
We all build our fortresses. We treat our time like a defensive strategy to ward off burnout. We all have our corporate ladders, our restructuring anxieties, our endless notifications demanding our attention. But hearing how quickly all of that dissolved on the airport mesa makes you wonder.
Yeah.
What is your personal equivalent of stargazing in Sedona? What is the physical place or even just the mental space that forces you to put down your phone, look up at the sky, and realize you are already wealthy?
It's a question worth keeping close.
It really is. Thank you for sitting on the porch with us today and sharing this journey. We will see you on the next deep dive. Keep looking up.